Okay, so you decided that sugar is creating a whole bunch of problems in your life and that you're going to drop it. But every time you try to drop it, you get these insane cravings where you like basically black out and wake up in front of an empty tub of cookie dough ice cream, or maybe you get so emotional and you find yourself weeping at old episodes of the Brady Bunch, or maybe you just yell at the mailman because you don't like his shorts, or it's possible that you just feel so exhausted and you can barely even function as a human being that you're just like, fine, fine, sugar, you're delicious and I will eat you, and that's just fine. And I will deal with all the havoc that you create. And you just lose against sugar every time. But by the end of this video, you're going to understand why you get those withdrawal symptoms, and you're going to understand how to fix them. You get to win. You get to win against sugar. You don't want to miss this.
TC Hale is not a doctor and does not claim to be a doctor or licensed in any type of medical field. Don't be an idiot and use anything heard on the show as medical advice. This information should be used for educational purposes only, and you should contact your doctor for any medical advice. Now get off me.
So let me know in the comments section below what type of withdrawal symptoms you experience when you drop sugar, because it can really be different for everybody. And I want you to understand that it's not about, oh, this is the punishment that I deserve for all of my sugar sins, and it's not a thing, well, I'm just a sugarholic and I just can't live without it. It's not about that kind of stuff. It's about physiological issues that are going on in your body and the response that your body is having to you taking it away, this major fuel source that it likes to use. So it's really about understanding that if minerals are low in the body likes to buffer those low minerals by raising sugar levels. Because when sugar goes really low, you can buffer that by raising minerals. As long as the body has one of those things going on, the system can function correctly. But when minerals and sugars both go low at the same time, there's a whole lot of trouble. So the people who have low minerals in the system tend to be a lot more addicted to sugar. The addiction is much more severe when they don't have that buffering system of minerals to make them feel okay if they go without sugar for too long, or they don't eat enough carbohydrates. That's why one person can go all day without really eating any carbs, or even all year for some folks, and others go nuts if they don't have some every couple of hours. It all depends on how the body's functioning and the buffering system that it has. So if you can measure your blood pressure and see that it's under 112 over like 78, that's a strong indication that you're dealing with what we call an electrolyte deficiency, where there's just not enough minerals or electrolytes in the system for the body to function correctly. So it keeps calling on things that'll bring in more sugar to help the body function without those minerals. That's why when you drop the sugar, the body's getting real upset. It's like, hey, I was using that. You were bringing it in every day. Everything was going fine. We were functioning. Give me more of that. And we get like crazy headaches and all this craziness from the sugars and the fuel source the body was using going too low. But once you understand what's going on, you can start putting more things in your favor, and you can make adjustments that will help you function better even without the sugar. If you do find that your blood pressure tends on the lower side, that's a strong indication that the mineral levels are low, so you can take steps to try to lift some mineral levels. If you're not using a good quality sea salt, that's a huge one. A lot of people avoid salt because a doctor told our Uncle Bill that it was going to kill him, but that doesn't mean that salt is bad for everybody. A lot of us really need salt. And if you can use a high quality sea salt, that'll bring you a lot more benefits than just a normal table salt. There's one sea salt from the brand Celtic Sea Salt called Flower of the Ocean that tends to have a lot more minerals in it and seems to help people with their cravings and loss of carb restriction, all that kind of stuff. It helps them through all that. So we'll put the link down in the description of where you can find that, but that's one step that you can take to try to lift your mineral levels a little bit. The next step you want to take is to try to keep your blood sugar on an even keel. You really want to avoid the sugar spikes and crashes that happen when you eat sugar or you eat really starchy carbohydrates like bread and pasta and rice and things that really can create a sugar spike, because when you create that sugar spike, then the body calls on all this insulin, and the insulin can sweep that sugar out too fast, too hard, too quickly. Now your sugar has crashed, and if your mineral levels are low, now you have minerals low and sugars low, and you're going to have a real problem. But if you can lean more towards eating what we call medium carb foods, foods that contain enough carbs to help you function and feel great, but not such high carbs that it creates that huge spike and crash. Things like yams or sweet potatoes or butternut squash or berries, those are better choices than things like pasta or sandwiches and all those cereal high carb foods. It can also be incredibly helpful if you eat all of your carbs with protein. The protein can slow down how fast and how hard those carbs will hit your blood sugar. So you won't get such a spike and therefore you won't get such a big crash. So if you can eat all of your carbs with protein, that'll help them hit the system a little slower and a little smoother and keep that blood sugar on more of an even keel. You want to try to avoid eating carbs by themselves or even fruit by itself, just because it's going to create that spike and crash a little bit faster than you want it to. Now, all these steps can be incredibly helpful, but the biggest factor seems to be that if someone is having any type of digestive symptoms, that they're going to have a really hard time dropping sugar. And here's why. We eat food not just to give us something to do, we eat food to access all the minerals and the nutrients and the amino acids and the fats and vitamins, all that good stuff that's in the food. But it's very common for someone not to have their digestion working optimally, and then they don't have the ability to fully break that food down. They may only partially be breaking that food down, and then the food tries to break down by the process of rotting and fermenting, and it creates all these gases and toxins, and they have all this discomfort. So they're not really getting the nutrients and all those minerals that they need out of their food. Now the minerals in the system go low, and then when the sugars go too low, the body freaks out. So here's how digestion is supposed to work. When we eat food, we should be making stomach acid in our stomach, which is HCl, and that helps us start to break that food down. And then when this acidic product leaves the stomach and it goes into the first 10 inches of the small intestine, then we drop this bile down onto there. The bile is stored in the gallbladder, and this alkaline bile meets this acid product leaving the stomach, and you get this sizzle. And this sizzle is what helps us really bust the food apart and pull all the nutrients out of that food. Now, the problem is a lot of people aren't making enough stomach acid for a wide variety of reasons. And another problem is that a lot of people are creating problems where their bile becomes too thick and sticky, and then it won't flow correctly, and it can't flow down to meet that acid product and create that sizzle. So if either side of digestion, or if both sides aren't working optimally, we can't fully break down our food. So if you're having any digestive symptoms, like whether it's burping or bloating or constipation or diarrhea or acid reflux, nausea, indigestion, maybe food just kind of feels like it sits there in your stomach for all day, and maybe you're seeing undigested food in your stool, or maybe you have acne issues. All of these are signs that digestion is not working optimally, which means you're not getting all the nutrients out of the food you're eating. Maybe you're putting a lot of effort into eating very healthy. I'm buying organic, free range, grass-fed, bathed by queens, all this stuff. But if your food can't break it down properly, it's just rotting and fermenting and turning into this toxic goop. So proper digestion is really huge if you want to try and take away a body's very easy fuel source. Here's the trick. Things like proteins and fats, they're harder to break down and digest than something like a Pop-Tart. Pop-Tart is basically broken down before it even comes out of the package, because it's just this processed sugars and carbs and all these chemicals that are very easy to break down and very easy for the body to turn into fuel. So if you can't break down proteins correctly and you try to drop too many carbs or your sugars, your body's going to get real upset. You just took away the only fuel source that it was able to access correctly. So what we want to do is we want to take steps to improve any digestive functions that are malfunctioning so that you get rid of those digestive symptoms, and then that lets you know, hey, I can get all the nutrients I need out of the food that I'm eating. Now your body's going to get the stuff that it needs, so if you leave out the donuts, your body's not going to care. It's getting everything it needs from proteins and fats and real food carbohydrate sources. So if you're dealing with any of those digestive symptoms that we talked about, or maybe your blood pressure is low, we have a free 4-week digestion course where you can learn how to look at your digestive symptoms and look at your own physiology to figure out what may be going wrong. And then the course will also walk you through the steps on how to fix those issues so you can digest your food correctly. Now, dropping sugar is one thing, but if you're wanting to lower your carbs really low as well, for maybe you're going to do a low-carb diet or even a keto diet, You really want to have digestion working correctly, because when you lower those carbs too much, you only have proteins and fats left over, and you need to be able to break those down correctly and access the nutrients in those food. Your body's going to be screaming for the carbs. So while you're working on digestion or lifting mineral levels, we suggest that you try to eat a little more of those medium carb foods that'll supply your body with more carbs, maybe more than you want to eat right now. But do that while you're working on improving these other issues so that your body can function correctly. Then you'll be able to gradually lower those carbs until you reach the area that you want to be at. And a really big tip here is to make sure that you plan ahead. Know what you're going to be eating. If you wait too long and you get too hungry, all rational decision and all rational thinking is going to go out the door. You're going to be thinking that crushed up Oreos in a taco shell is a good idea. You really need to plan ahead, and if you plan ahead, it's just easy. Oh, I already planned this. I'll just eat it now. So know what you're going to eat the rest of the day before the day really starts. But what you're going to see is that you can really beat sugar if you learn how to work with your body instead of against it. It's totally a different game. So don't forget to sign up for the free 4-week digestion course so you can figure out any digestive issues you may have going on. And for now, watch our video for how to fix sugar cravings fast. We dig a little bit more into how the digestive process can play a factor in there in that video. I can't wait to hear about your results.